Real quick, before we hop into today's video, just wanted to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, my wallet. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's so good to be back. Once again, I'm going to apologize like I did in my post because last week my brother came in from Michigan and I also adopted a kitten. So I wasn't able to do a ton with editing and things like that. But I did want to make this video because today I have something very, very cool and important that I wanted to talk to you guys about. And that is Red Yellow Bonney. That's right, you heard me right. The leader from the new OP15 EB04 Part II set that came out that not a lot of people were super hyped about or really that pumped about, especially once the Borsalino and Rayquaza combo got pair banned. But this leader, guys, let me just say, this leader has something to say in this format, I think, and is very underexplored. I will say I am only playing at locals right now. I haven't made it to a regionals yet, but I'm very confident in this leader to the point where at the start of this format, I was either going to commit to Blue Yellow Nami or Black Crocodile as my main deck. But after trying out Red Yellow Bonney a few times, it just, I don't know, there's something about it that just feels really special. So today I wanted to show you guys the deck profile that I've been running that has been consistently getting me top 3, if not winning, all of my recent locals events. For the last 3 tournaments that I played this Red Yellow Bonney leader in, I was able to play second in one of them, only losing out to another Red Yellow Bonney, first in the Pirate Party event that I went to, and second in another one yesterday in which I only dropped a game to Dracula Mihawk. Guys, this leader feels very strong, decent into NL in my opinion, as long as you play the matchup right, as well as really good into Blue Yellow Nami as you're able to pretty much just mitigate all of her board pressure during the mid to late game and then beat her down with big bodies that she can no longer red rock to get rid of. With that being said, for the layout of this video, I'm going to go into my deck profile, my choices, and why I picked them. Then I'm going to show you guys a couple live games that I played at one of the locals and wrap it up with opening the booster packs that I got for my placings in these locals. Before we go any further, if you guys like these kinds of videos, please feel free to drop a like down below. Hit the subscribe button while you're down there because it's 100% free and it helps me and my channel out a ton. You can hit the notification bell right next to the subscribe button because that will let you know anytime that I post a new post, video, or stream. You can hit the curvy arrow button to share this video with your friends and other videos like it. And last but not least, don't feel shy and leave a comment down below saying what you like about this video, a tech card that you think I should look at, things that you do or don't want to see, or any tips or tricks you have. Just keep it nice and constructive down there. We don't need people cutting each other up on the internet any more than Instagram already lets them. With that being said, let's get straight into the deck profile. Alright guys, and here we are in the deck profile. So like I said, we were playing Red Yellow Jewelry Bonney from EB04. I'm going to go ahead and read what this leader does, just for any of you guys that don't know. It's a 5,000 power, 4 life, Red, Yellow, Egghead, and Bonney Pirates type leader that says on your opponent's turn, if you have 1 or less life cards, this leader gets plus 2,000 power. And then she also says activate main once per turn. You can give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 1,000 power during this turn for free. Then, if you have 2 or more life cards, you may add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. So it gives you the option to unstarve yourself or get down to 1 if you'd like for certain scenarios, as long as you have 2 or more, as well as getting a free minus 1k to your opponent's board on their turn. Just a really, really strong effect. And then shout outs to TCG. Please sponsor me for the custom Bonney here that I got. Very, very nice. We're going to go ahead and get into the deck profile. For the Dawns, I used the Dawn pack from the new set. This is the, I believe, the Sky Island Luffy one. So starting us out, we're running 4 copies of the Mandatory Searcher, Red Jewelry Bonney. Now, this card is extremely good in my opinion because it searches the top 4 for any Egghead or Straw Hat card except for Jewelry Bonney. So it cannot search the 9-cost Rush Bonney, which, spoiler alert, we do play, but it can search any other Egghead or Straw Hat. And something to note, guys, is this lets you search your Luffys, your big Luffys, which we'll get to, the big Zoros. It also lets you search another tech option that I'm running. So you run 4 of those. Also, it's a 1k counter, which I think in this deck is vital. Next, we are running 2 Sentimaru. I really want to try to bump this to at least 3 or 4, but right now I think 2 is the right number for my build, and I'll tell you why in a little bit as we get into some of the other cards. But just a great card on block. You get to draw a card if you have 2 or less life, which you can easily get to with your leader. All right, moving on, we have a couple 4-drops here. The first one's going to be 4-cost yellow Sanji from EB04. So this is an Egghead and a Straw Hat Crew type card. It's a 4-cost 4k with 1k counter. When attacking, this card's base power becomes the same as your opponent's leader during this turn. That includes if your opponent's leader is like Yellow Nami and they use their leader effect to become a 7k leader. It also includes things like Roger or other Bonnies who have buffed themselves to 9k, his base power matches whatever their leader is at. And then on KO, if you have 2 or less life cards, you can play up to 1 yellow character card with 6,000 power less from your hand, which we have a lot of. So it's really nice because it's just an early pressure tool that you can take your own life with leader to get down to so that it just replaces itself. Next 4 cost we have is just a 2 of. It's going to be the Sanji from the Luffy starter deck. Now this card actually is not type locked at all. So it's a 4 cost 5k with 1k counter. On play, you can look at the top 4, reveal any Straw Hat crew and add it to your hand. That can include Sanji, so it can search itself in the other Sanji. And then you put the rest on the bottom in any order, and it has a trigger to trash one and play it. Now, something I do want to say is you aren't that worried, in my opinion, in this deck about triggers. So it having a trigger is nice, and I have triggered it out before, but it's not the end of the world if you don't, okay? This isn't exactly the blue-yellow boa or the Gecko Moria deck, right? You're not trying to trigger everything. You just want to get value off of stuff if you can trigger it. Next, for our 5 costs, we have 4 Borsalino. It's kind of mandatory, the best yellow card pretty much in the game. 5 cost 6k blocker. If you have 2 or less life cards on play, you get to heal 1. Something to note about this is 1, it's Egghead, so we can search it with our Bonney searcher here, but also it has 6,000 power, so you can actually play it out off of these Sanjis just like you could if it was in blue yellow Nami off of the 5 cost Namis. So very strong there. And speaking of 5 cost Nami, we do run 4 of her. So again, probably the other best yellow card in the game right now. Yeah, 5 cost 6k, so you can play this one out as well off of the 4 cost Sanji, which is insane. On play, your opponent has to add a life to hand. You get a free Dawn on leader, which doesn't really matter. And then on KO, you can reveal the top life and then play out a yellow character with 6k power less from your hand. So pretty much the same thing as the Sanji. All right, moving on. We now are going to get into the 2k territory. So I do not run any of the 7 cost Kumas or anything like that. That is all I'm running for cards with 1k counter. So for 2Ks, we're going to run 2 Pacifista here. I like it as a tech option just because it's a 2K, and I think you need 2Ks. But more importantly, it can be a blocker in a super pinch at the end of a game just to help you get out of 1 or 2 chump swings. Not amazing because it does die to pretty much all of the NL tech, as well as it doesn't really work into green. But then again, that's green. What are you going to do? Next, we run 2 unblockable Sanji 2Ks. This one's great. I just love having this option in the deck. It is searchable, which is why I don't need to run more of them. This one right here is searchable as well off of the Bonney searcher, but we have Sanji, which is searchable off Bonney searcher, as well as our 4 cost Sanji character. Yeah, you just give a Straw Hat with 6k or more power, unblockable. Or, well, your opponent can't activate blocker, but same thing. So we run 2 of those. Great utility 2k. Another 2 of, we have 2 Zeus. I really like this card. You could make an argument to try and bump this up a little bit more, but I think 2 is fine just because I don't really need to remove most 5 costs in the game, and most problem characters for this deck cost more than 5 anyways, but we run 2 Zeuses just to have that option. The 1/4 of 2k that we do run is going to be Baby 5. Guys, this card is absolutely insane when you do trigger it, right? Just drawing 2 off of the trigger is so good in this leader, because this leader, you just want to take pretty much every hit down to 1. And so this right here, if you do trigger it, is just insane. But other than that, it's just a 2k. Unfortunately, not searchable. That one and Zeus aren't searchable 2ks, but not the end of the world. All right, now we're getting into our brick territory, and this is where the tech options that I play come in. So I run 2 of the 5 cost Sky Island Luffy. This card is insane. I played it at my pirate party, and it won me both games of the pirate party that I needed to get me the overall win, because I got the bye for the first round, and then I played against a blue Kuzan followed by a purple Dofi, and in both those games this card was able to close it out for me. Yeah, so it is searchable off of the 1 cost Bonney searcher as well as the Sanji. Part of the reason why I play the Sanji is because you can't search this off of the other Egghead searcher because it is unfortunately Sky Island and Straw Hat Crew. But yeah, just an insane option here, giving us rush and being able to just kind of mitigate a lot of big blockers and events late game. Next, the mandatory 4 of, and one of the bread and butter cards of the deck is going to be 7 cost Egghead Rush Zoro. So this is Egghead as well. Something to note, don't be confused because it's not yellow, it is Egghead Zoro. But on play, you give your leader plus 2,000 power until the next end phase of your opponent, and then activate main, you can give him character rush if your opponent has a character with 8,000 power or more. This is actually a pretty underutilized ability for this card in my opinion, and in this deck specifically it works pretty well because your leader can give something minus 1k, you can play this out, give it character rush, and swing at something for a decent amount later in the game. But other than that, just a great body, right? 9k body is pretty good. Moving on, we have 2 of the Jewelry Bonney Egghead cards, the 9 cost 10k rush. Your leader is Egghead, so you do get the on play for this. If your leader is Egghead type, this character gains rush during this turn, then your opponent adds 1 card from the top of their life cards to their hand. Just a really solid option there. Being able to be a rush body that leaves you a Dawn up for something that I'll show you in a second here, and making them take a life, meaning that it's a confirmed hit. Just a really excellent thing. And then it also has the trigger. If you have 1 or less life cards, which you always will in this leader by this time, you can rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 7 or less. That can come in clutch, especially against Purple Enel, to rest their big NLs if they're trying to push lethal. But I don't use many triggers in this deck, like I'm saying. Next, we do have a 1 of Goldie Roger. I considered cutting this and just playing a 3rd Sanji, but I do think having the option to just drop down to 13k Rusher to close out a game instead of just 1 unblockable Straw Hat Crew card is a good enough reason to run this at 1, because sometimes you don't have as big a board state as you want to push lethal, and against decks that can counter out of a lot, this is a better option, just running the Luffy and this instead of an unblockable Sanji. Next, we have 3 Luffy, Speak of the Devil. So this card is another amazing card in the deck. I really wanted to play this at 4, but in testing and just after a lot of brainstorming and, you know, running the numbers, I don't think you can realistically run 4 of this without breaking too much, considering all the other bricks that I do have. With these 3 Luffys, just for characters, we have those 3 Luffys and a Rogers, that's 4, and then you have 6 here, plus the 4 Zoros is 10, 11, 12. So you already have 12 bricks before we even get into the events and whatnot. So I think 3 is fine. Because of all the searchers that I run, I never have an issue finding 1 or 2 of these when I need them. So I'm happy with 3 here. But yeah, just a great card. 10 costs 12k. It costs 1 less in your hand if you have 1 or less life cards, which you always will with Bonney. And then on play, you get to trash any card from your hand, and you make your Jewelry Bonney plus 2k till the end of your opponent's next end phase. And then this card becomes a blocker, but he only becomes a blocker until the end of your opponent's next end phase too. So something to note if you're playing with this deck or against it is those Luffys are only blockers for the 1 turn. All right, and now we get into the events, and this is where my list deviates a little bit from a lot of people's. I run 2 He Possesses the World's Most Brilliant Mind. This card is an excellent searcher in my opinion. You look at the top 5 cards of your deck and get any Egghead card other than this one, right? And so something cool about this card is it searches our Luffys, because these are Egghead. It searches your Bonnies, because they're Egghead. Your Zoros. It cannot search your Rush Luffy, but some things that it can search, not Nami's unfortunately, but you can find your Borsalinos. This Sanji searcher right here is also Egghead. So you can find your other Sanji searcher to chain into a search plus a body if you want. You can find this Sanji as well. But you can also search Sentomaru or Jewelry Bonney searcher. So this one has kind of the red-black Sabo effect where you can search your other searchers with it. And then its trigger is just draw a card. So if late game you don't need bricks, you can trigger this out, get rid of it, right, and just draw a card. So I run this at 2 of. This was just the extra consistency piece I feel I needed, and it was worth running the brick in my opinion because it only costs 1 Dawn. Pretty easy to pitch away. Next for events, we run 4 of the best event in the game for yellow, and that's going to be Raw Heat Strike. Now, is it actually the best event in the game for yellow? Potentially, probably not, but this card is insane because it is basically a Radical Beam for your deck on steroids. First off, it is both Egghead and Straw Hat Crew types. You can search this with every searcher in the deck, and then it says counter up to 1 of your leader character cards gets plus 2,000 power during this battle, so it's a 1 cost 2k counter. Then if you have 1 or less life cards, give up to 1 of your opponent's leader or characters minus 2,000 power for the turn. So this card is a 4k counter or 2 2k counters in a single turn. Absolutely insane. And then it also is a trigger to draw a card. I usually don't trigger this card. It's just too good to throw away for another card in the deck, in my opinion, unless I'm really hurting. But this card right here has won me so many games because being at a 9k leader and being able to have 2 free 2ks for 1 Dawn is absolutely absurd, guys. One thing to note is the minus 2k for the turn can be put on a leader. So this also works against cards like Green Zoro where the leader is swinging multiple times because it will just stick with him for the turn. And then for the last 2 cards, we have Kingdom Come or Raigo for all of you Unk status sim players. But this is not searchable, unfortunately. 6 cost event. On main, you can KO up to 1 of your opponent's characters, period. Then you trash cards from the top of your life until you have 1 life card. Something to note, just in case you don't know, if you are at 1 life, you can play this, KO something, and not have to trash anything. It is not a requirement to trash the life. It is part of the effect. So very good. The trigger I have never used, ever, but it says KO up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost equal to or less than the total of you and your opponent's life cards. Usually not going to be that high of a number because your leader's trying to get to 1 as fast as possible. And that is going to be the 50 card deck here. Now, let me go really quickly into why I picked some of these options. So Kingdom Come here is really good into blue yellow Nami if they do manage to see their Teach come down, because it just removes that for the turn. You still have some Dawn left to leave up raw heat strikes or do things like play out a Sentomaru or a unblockable Sanji if you're trying to push for game, just different things like that. Also great into Mihawk to get rid of their first Mihawk and or Law and Beppo, but usually you just want to save this for Mihawk. You don't really care about Law Beppos. Mihawk is one of our harder matchups of the more relevant decks, and so in my opinion, this is just an excellent way to get rid of the Mihawk stuff. So that's the first thing I wanted to address, is why I run that. And then I only run 2 because you don't need this for every matchup, and a lot of times it will just end up getting pitched off of Luffy in most games anyways, so I don't need it. Also good into Ace. Blue-red Ace is another matchup that isn't amazing for this deck, but if you're able to chain your bodies that make you a 9k leader and play this to remove their first Whitebeard or 2, you are usually fine. The next little segment that I wanted to get into is why I run so many searchers and why I run the ones that I do. So for my search package, like we said earlier, I run the 4 Bonnies here. We run the 2 Sanjis, and then we run the 2 events. Now, why am I running these searchers and not the Lilith? Another great card that a lot of people use for this deck is the 3-cost 5k Lilith Egghead character. Now, it is searchable off of pretty much all of these searchers except for Sanji, but my issue with the card was its trigger only lets you play it if your leader is Vegapunk, and also it is a brick. And in this deck, I think it is very important to have at least like 3 to 5k counter in hand for when you start becoming a 9k leader. And I just didn't like the idea of Lilith being a brick. And also, this Sanji actually can trigger out of your life and then replace the card that you trash. So it's not ever a minus taking it out of life. Versus Lilith, you're not getting counter, you're not triggering it, you're gonna have to play it eventually. I just think the Sanji is more usable. And then this right here was to make sure that I still can dig deep enough, right? Because Lilith searches 5. I use this because it is a 5 searcher, and again, only costs 1. Because in this deck, unless you're playing this out on curve, you don't really want to be searching late game. You'd rather just play out your giant bodies to overwhelm your opponent in the end game. So that's why I am running these searchers, and then I'm going to keep the Sanji out here because there's one more dynamic that I wanted to go over, and that is why I run the low cost cards that I do. Something that I think a lot of people have ignored about this deck that, in my opinion, makes it so strong is its early to mid game curve. Granted, all you're doing as the leader is just taking those hits to hand, but what you can do on the flip side is build your own board that isn't going to go away. It's going to be very sticky. First off, I will say I think this is one of, if not the best pirate party leaders. I know Emu is out there, but this deck absolutely demolishes Emu. So if your local area has a lot of Emus, I would heavily consider, if you have the money or the cards, running this leader instead. It is so good into Emu. But anyways, going into these, we have the 4 Namis, 4 Borsas, 4 Sanjis, 2 Sanjis, not to be confused with 4 Sanjis, and the 2 Sentomarus. I consider this my mid-early game package. Sentomaru, not as much. This is just a great tech card, but especially this core here of 14 cards. So the reason why I run these is because I found in testing as well, people would just swing into the Lilith and kill it, and it was just gone, right? But with this specific lineup, they almost always are disincentivized to attack these cards. And if you're a 9k leader, it also means that they can't really hit your face either because you're so big. So it kind of puts them in this lose-lose scenario, right? Because if they swing Nami, you're going to reveal your top life, which lets you know what you have on the top of your life for the Rush Luffy, which is very nice. But more importantly, from this Nami, you can go into another Nami, or a Borsalino, or a Sanji to search, or a Sanji to create pressure. If you play this Sanji, you're searching. If you play Borsa, you're healing. If you play another Nami, you're getting a Dawn to leader and replacing the body, and potentially, you are also making them take another life. I did do that to someone. They killed my Nami. I used Nami to play Nami, make them take another life. Nothing that's super revolutionary, but in this deck, just having little bodies that can stick is really, really good, I've found. And also, these ones here are 6Ks, which means you can pressure leaders like Ace, leaders like Brook in the late game who becomes a 7K, leaders like Croc who can become a 7K. The list goes on. Blue, yellow Nami, red, yellow Bonney, red, purple Rogers, right? Any of these decks that are buffing their leaders, this Sanji can pressure. So you can swing your leader, and then once they do their thing, this Sanji still asks for another card. The MVP out of these 5, in my opinion, is actually this Sanji, because this card is so annoying for them to deal with, because it's a 4K on their board on their turn, but they can't swing it because this one, you don't even have to reveal your life to play the card. So I've had, you know, 2 or 3 of these I've seen sometimes because of how much I'm searching or just what's in my hand. You play out the first one, they're like, okay, I'll leave this one there. You play out your second Sanji and maybe a Sentomaru or a swing with leader. Oh, well, now they feel incentivized to kill one of them. It dies. And now you can play out a Nami, they burn a life, or a Borsalino, you heal, or you can even play out another Sanji, and now they have to deal with that one again. So these guys just create a lot of annoying and obnoxious early game pressure that forces your opponent to burn stuff like their Electrical Lunas early, because you don't have to play your 7-cost Zoros if you see enough of these. In fact, I was playing against a blue-red ace yesterday, and I saw enough of the 6 costs that I just played out all my little guys, and then Kingdom Come to the first Whitebeard that he played, and I was able to just kind of win out by swinging 5/6s on a turn. So I really like this package just because it provides a lot of value in the early game, which normally you wouldn't care about with this deck, right? You'd just be playing a few cheapish bodies on curve, but now these guys actually like create pressure even into the late game. So that's why I run these bodies here. But yeah, guys, that is my deck. Out of the past, you know, I've probably played this deck 20 times so far already live. And out of those 20 games, I think I've dropped 5 or 6, maybe. So it's just doing very well, in my opinion, into this meta. And again, the first pirate party that I took it to, I won. So I haven't really seen a deck that I'm super scared of. There is a Control Enel player in my local area that has like purple laws and stuff like that in the deck. That makes this deck a little bit difficult to play because you want to have a ton of cards in hand. But I mean, other than that, I've been really enjoying Bonney. She's just been very strong. So now we'll go ahead and get into the games, and then after that I'm going to open up a couple packs for you guys. So I'll see you in the first game. All right, guys, and here we are in game 1. This is going to be versus Green Mihawk. This was a really fun game and one of our worst matchups, so I definitely wanted to showcase it. Shout outs to my opponent here, Marco. He's really good, one of the strongest players at my current locals. Every time I play him, it's always a good game, but I wanted to show this one. I'm not going to be doing animations today just because I wanted to get this out to you guys. And also, I'm going to be starting a job that's going to have a lot more work time. And so, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do those kinds of animations all the time. So I'm just going to kind of talk over this one here. So let's go ahead and start up. And we, I believe, win the die roll here, going first, taking the Mihawk's curve. And we have absolutely 0 plays for like the first 2 turns so far. So we're just going to pass it over to the Mihawk. Mihawk starting out with the Kid and Killer. Look at the top 5 and getting any Supernova to their hand. I believe they're going to take Law Beppo here. Oh no, they're going to take the Scratchman and Poo-2K. All right. And then they are going to pass it up to us. We're going to draw. We see another Raw Heat Strike counter event. So again, no plays, and that's just going to be an 8K at lead. And we're going to pass the turn, not trying to take our own life here in this matchup, right? Just because, you know, we want to be able to soak up some of those hits from the bigger cards that the Mihawk is going to play. They're going to respond with the Perona, grabbing themselves the Law blocker, and then follow that up with another Perona to search again. And now they're grabbing the Law and Beppo here, and it's going to be a 5K at leader. We are going to get the Sanji trigger and get rid of a Raw Heat Strike to look at the top 4 and get any Straw Hat card. And we somehow whiffed, seeing 3 Bonney searchers and a 9-cost Bonney. Pretty crazy odds there. But anyways, we are going to draw for turn. We get our second Kingdom Come, which means that we can now trade for some of those late bodies. So we're going to go 5 here at lead. They're going to counter with a 2K Zoro, which is nice. We got a free 2K. Nami's going to make him take a life, give a Dawn to our leader. We're going to swing 6, and that's going to get us another 2K Zoro, and we're just passing over there. And so here he's probably going to kill our Sanji or freeze it, one of the two. So at this point, right, versus Mihawk, our board is probably just not going to be doing anything. He hasn't even played out the card yet, and I just preemptively froze both of those cards. But it is going to be the Perona to prevent both of them from resting. And then he's going to use Leader Skill to get 3 Dawn back. He is going to swing for 7 at the Sanji. He's going to keep freezing it anyway, so we just let it go. And he passes to us with 1 Dawn up. We draw another Heat Strike here, guys. So no Zoros, no, you know, anything to play, really. I think we have another Nami as our only real option, or we could potentially do Kingdom Come here, but we have 3 life. We do not want to trash 2 of those. So I go ahead and decide we're just going to play out the Nami and make him take a life to his hand and then swing. Yep, so we're going to go 5 here for Nami 2. Gonna make him add another life to his hand and add a Dawn to our leader, and then we're just going to go for 8 at lead, asking for the 4K event. So here he's taking a good think, and he decides to take, as I believe he's not even in range of the 4K event if he were to use it. So he's going to take, going down to 1 already, and then we're going to pass our turn. Once again, no open Dawn, right? We're not at 1 life, so Raw Heat Strike doesn't work. He's going to play Tashigi to rest down our Nami so that it is no longer standing. Then he's going to go into a Bonney Searcher using 2 Dawn to find another Law Blocker here. And he definitely does need to play a little bit of defense, right, in order to stave off. We've already got him down to 1 life, and we're not even at 9 Dawn yet, which is kind of crazy considering we're like a late game control deck. So here he's going to go for 7k at our leader, or excuse me, he's going to use Mihawk ability to rest the Tashigi and then restand 3. Now he's going to have 4 Dawn left here, and he's looking at the Namis here, trying to decide whether or not he wants to swing at it or not. I only have 5 cards in hand as he hasn't really hit us, so there is a case to be made to kill the Nami. Getting some of my sandwich, and he's going to play out the 3k event to perma-freeze the 1 Nami. He's going to swing into us. We insta-take that, getting the Borsalino. He's going to take a 6 at us. We're going to take that as well. Then he's just going to pass over to us. So now we are at 9 Dawn. Still have not seen a single Zoro, guys. What is this game? That is crazy. We whiffed the Sanji, and we still haven't seen a Zoro out of 4 life. Granted, we haven't searched, but even so, I believe this hand was kept through a mulligan. So we didn't have Zoros in the first hand either. So now I'm looking at my hand, and the idea of playing out the Luffy with no Dawn up to counter does seem kind of bad, even though we'll be a 9k leader, because he just has so many bodies that he can pepper cards out of our hands. So here I take a second to think about where I want to send my leader and my Nami, and he doesn't have anything that we really want to Kingdom Come yet. I'm not too worried about blockers that he has because we have the Sanji. So I'm not going to worry about killing blockers here because that Sanji will just give a big card unblockable. So we're going to go 6 at lead. He is going to give us the 2k Apu that he searched earlier in the game. And we are just going to go with the raw Luffy here. Deciding what to pitch is kind of tricky. I think it's probably going to end up being a Kingdom Come. Yep, and that's going to be gone. And the reason why we did Kingdom Come there, guys, real quick, is because we're probably not going to have time to play both of them in this game because of how low his life total is. Mihawk games are very fast with Bonney here, and so I decided that the game's not going to be going on long enough as I'm potentially setting up lethal next turn with the Luffy to go unblockable at his face if he takes this last life. And so after we play the Luffy, our leader is going to get buffed plus 2k. And now that we've been buffed by that Luffy after pitching out of the Kingdom Come, we're going to be a 7k leader. So I'm going to swing for 7 at our opponent, just asking for 2 cards or an event or something here, or maybe even a blocker to try and get him down to 0 life, but really just trying to get counter out of his hand for a big Luffy swing. But he is going to take going to 0. And so here we're looking at potentially lethaling him on the next turn if he doesn't have a way to deal with this Luffy, right, with our Sanji. Now he is going to Law Beppo to rest that Luffy, which no longer can block, as well as keeping it frozen, which he has a little frozen token here, pretty cool. So our Luffy is frozen sideways for now, and his leader is going to be a 7k, which is pretty strong. Here he's trying to figure out what he wants to rest for leader ability. He decides to do the Perona because we're a 9k leader, so there's not really a way to threaten anyways. Restanding 3, and he is going to get down the I Know You're Strong event once again, stunning our 2 7-cost or lower Namis. So now our entire board is just chilling like villains sideways. And so here I'm really looking at no top end at all, potentially doing Borsalino, but I decided it's better to just use the 1 Kingdom Come we have while I can to get some value, get rid of this Law and Beppo, and then potentially just swing a small number and block her up. So we're going to go ahead and start off here, I believe, with the 7k swing just to feel it out. Or no, we go 6k at the Perona to kill that. He is going to rest the Kid and Killer with the Perona effect to play a green card back out. He's going to play Jewelry Bonney, which is a blocker that draws him 2 and trashes 1 and then restands the Dawn. I think he forgets to restand the Dawn here, but it's whatever. I go ahead and go for the Kingdom Come now to kill the Law and Beppo now that I know what he played. And we're just going to put down a Sentomaru blocker for 2 Dawn, guys, and just ask him to rest that if he wants to get through to anything. And we're going to pass our turn. Now we are only a 7k leader, but it's fine because we have 1 Dawn up for our 4k counter event or our 2k counter. He's going to be grabbing the Tashigi and then playing it out to rest the Sentomaru. He's going to rest the Tashigi off leader effect to restand some of that Dawn there. And now he's going to start going in for 7 at lead, right? Potentially trying to whittle down our hand of only 5 cards. But this is where that raw heat strike really puts in work, guys, because it's not just a 4k, it's 2 2k. So we're going to use 1 Dawn, raw heat strike to give ourselves plus 2k for the battle. And then I give the Trafalgar Law blocker -2 for the turn, putting him down to a 4k character. And our opponent has 7 Dawn to work with here, which is quite a bit. He's going to go 2-1 into Sentomaru. Sure, we'll let it go. I'm not going to use a 2k for that because our 2k is going to kill him next turn. And now, because we know he doesn't have a answer for our Luffy, he's going to go in 10 at lead to try and hit us, and we are comfortable now taking this damage. So we're going to take that, going to 5 cards in hand, found the 4th Bonney Searcher, kind of crazy. Would have been nice earlier when we could search stuff. And we're going to draw for turn. We get another 2K here, being the baby 5. And so now I just want to tax his hand of as many 2Ks as possible while still not letting him free block. So we're going to put a Dawn on our leader here to swing for 6 at lead once we check his trash. Yep, so he has like 4 or 5 2Ks and 2 of the 3K events. He only has 2 Dawn up, so I decided it's a good idea to just try and whittle his hand down a bit before we go unblockable Luffy, because Mihawks can counter out of tower swings pretty well, but a lot of small ones not so much. So we're going to start with a 6. He gives us a 2K to get out of that, right, because he's only at a 5K leader. We're going to go in here for another 6 with our Nami, and he has to think about whether he wants to give us a 2K or not. He's going to give us 2 1Ks, right? The Bonney 5 cost as well as the Kid and Killer Searcher. We're going to send another 6K Nami at his leader. He's going to give us the 4K event using 1 Dawn, and now we are going to use 2 Dawn for the Sanji and equip our last 7 to Luffy, slamming in for 19,000. He is not able to counter out, and that is going to be good game. So great game from Marco. Very close and scary for us because neither of us really saw our top end, and yeah, that Kingdom Come really coming in clutch there, guys, to clean out the lot in Beppo. So that's going to be game 1 versus Green Mihawk. Still a winnable matchup if you manage to win the die roll, but tricky overall. And now I'm checking for the Zoros and the other top end. But anyways, that's going to do it for game 1. I'll see you guys in game 2. All right, guys, and here we are going up against a green-black Brook. He rolls a 6, we roll a 10, so we win the die roll. And I believe here we just take first, right, which is our curve. We're going to mulligan that first hand just because I don't see a lot of top end. That's one thing that can be scary with this deck, guys, is if you don't see a little bit of top end in your opening hand, you can get kind of screwed sometimes depending on what all searchers you're able to find and life you get from the turns. He's going to keep his first hand. We are going to mulligan, getting our life out, and we are going to start off the game. So I think here, yep, we're taking first, and we have no searcher, so we're just going to pass it up. We have some really strong early game options here with our Sanji searcher, 2 Zoros to keep us at 9K for a while. Just some really solid options for the beginning of the game. He's going to start off with his leader ability right away, getting on the mill train. Brook himself trying to get down to 0 cards in deck so that he can end games really quickly. He's going to play the chopper out, milling another 3, so he's already milled 7 cards. And then he's going to look at his trash, trashing the chopper to get any Straw Hat back to his hand. He's going to grab the 6-cost 7K Luffy and pass his turn. So now we're going to be at 3 Dawn. It looks like we still don't have any play, so it's probably just going to be an 8K leader swing. But here's something that I would like to point out. So those Luffys have double attack, and we don't ever want to give him the value of 1 swing trading for 2 life. So that will come up in a little bit here in the game. So watch closely for how you can use this leader's effect to help play around that card. Anyways, we're going to be passing the turn. We drew a Luffy for our last turn, which is nice to see, just some end game. Our opponent here is going to go with another searcher, right, being that green Nami 1 cost to find a Straw Hat. He's going to grab the Zoro 2 cost blocker, and he's going to play it out and then swing for 6 at lead. We are never countering for the first life or 2 in this deck. He's going to leader skill first just because he forgot about that, and then swing 6 lead. We take finding another Luffy, so we have a lot of top end, and then he's going to pass back over to us. We're going to 5 Dawn here, and now the question is, which of the 4-drop Sanjis are we playing? We swing for 6, he's going to block, and now we're just going to play another 4-cost Sanji to help extend our lead. Unfortunately, we do whiff off of this one as well. You do whiff a couple times off him, but worst case, he's just a 4-5 body, right? Not that bad. Here I was thinking I should have played the other Sanji instead, because it can help once he plays out the Nightmare Luffy to help swing at his 7K leader. Now, he's going to play out the 6-cost Luffy, which has double attack, and then once he uses his leader effect to mill 4 cards, he's going to be swinging in for a little bit more damage here. And so now I'm thinking, okay, he's got this Luffy. I could play out a Zoro, but that would put me at only a couple counter in hand and a 9K leader. So he could double attack me down to 0 life pretty easily by just stacking a bunch of Dawn on this Luffy. So watch how we play around this double attack here. So now we are at 7 Dawn. We draw another 2K for turn, which is pretty sweet. We are going to start, because he doesn't have the Nightmare Luffy here, our Sanji is able to swing, so we should probably just start with a 5K at his leader, just so we don't give away anything about our hand or our plays. He's going to take this 5 going down to 2, which is sweet for us. We're going to play the Roronoa Zoro to put our leader at 7, swing for 7 at his 5K leader, and he is going to give us, I believe that is a 4K event. But we're going to do leader skill, giving the Luffy -1 and taking that top life this time off that leader ability. And now our leader will be a 9K on his turn, meaning he has to commit more Dawn to this Luffy, while at the same time getting rid of the benefits of him swinging with double attack and hitting us, putting us at 0. It might not seem like that much because if he hits us with the Luffy, we still go to 0, but it just disincentivizes him to attack us, and it puts us at a 9k, so we are less likely to take that double attack and go to 0, if that makes sense. So now he's going to go for 8 on his 8 Dawn turn, playing out the Nami, which is going to get any Straw Hat with a cost of 7 or less from his trash to the field and also give it Rush. And I think here he really wanted to get the Nightmare Luffy, but he actually hadn't milled it yet, so he has to play out the Brook. Brook is going to be turning our Roronoa Zoro sideways so that he could potentially swing into it. Now he's going to leader effect, and unfortunately here I believe he hits the Nightmare Luffy, so if he just remembered to leader effect first, he would have had it. Pretty unfortunate for him, but that's why sequencing is very important and why I think black decks in general, but especially green-black Brook, are some of the harder decks to play in the game. So he's going to go for 5 at our Sanji here, and we are going to 1k counter out for it and actually protect this character simply because he didn't play Nightmare Luffy. If he did, sure, chump blocker, we really don't care. But because he didn't, we can still pressure him with it. So I decide it's worth the 3k counter. Now, we are going to get some Dawn for our turn here, going to 9 Dawn. And now the question is, do we play the big Luffy or just another Zoro and keep pressuring? We're going to do leader skill to put this Brook down to a 5k character. And we're going to swing 7 at it with the Sanji. So here he's not willing to counter for it, which makes sense. He's starting to get low, so he just lets the Brook go. Pretty unfortunate. We're just going to play another Zoro, become a 7k leader, and then we're going to go 7 at lead, followed by 9 at lead. So just, again, trying to pressure this Brook down as fast as we can so that he can't make it to that 0 cards in deck turn and try and lethal us out. Then we go 9 at lead. He's going to block so that he stays at 1 life, and we're going to pass it over. So already we're creating a lot of pressure, and now I'm probably comfortable letting that Sanji go because he's already gotten more than enough value. He traded a Brook off of my opponent's board. He was able to, you know, pressure earlier. He's going to go for the 8-cost Nami now, having 2 Dawn left to work with, and he probably just goes for the Nightmare Luffy at this point to make our Sanji irrelevant. No, he decides to go for the Rush Luffy, realizing that this game is quickly coming to an end here. Restanding 4 Dawn, he's trying to pressure our board and whatnot. So now our opponent's still going to have 6 Dawn, right? Because that Nami costs 8. And the Luffys also have Rush. So this Luffy here, after he activates leader ability, can actually come in at us for some damage if he wants to. And so now our opponent's once again thinking about what he wants to do here with this 6 Dawn. Can't play any characters that cost 5 or more in this turn, but he could do something like a blocker Nami to rest down some of our cards potentially and restand a bunch of Dawn at the end of his turn. But our opponent has a lot of options here, and they're trying to figure out which one the best is. He's going to use Luna to stop our Zoro and our Sanji from coming back at our opponent here. And now he only has 3 Dawn left to work with. He could swing a 10k at something potentially like our leader or our Zoro. We have 2Ks for that though, so it might just be better to try and kill the Sanji before it restands, as he still has not established that Nightmare Luffy. But he's going to use that 3 Dawn, going to play out the Morgans, which is going to let him draw 2 Trash 2 and be a blocker, and then he's going to trash out of the Electrical Luna from his hand because he doesn't really need another one in this game. It's pretty quickly going to be over. And he's going to trash out of another counter event because he just doesn't have the Dawn up to use it, and then pass turn to us. Not deciding to swing into the Sanji, which makes sense. We would just kill that Luffy anyways. We draw another 2k for turn, so a million counter in hand. And at this point, I'm looking through his trash to see how many events he has and whatnot, trying to gauge what kind of plays he could have for lethal, as our opponent is down to like 5 cards in deck or something in this point. I mean, look at that trash. That is a thick stack of trash versus ours. So he is really, really close to getting that game-ending turn down. So now we're looking at our hand. It might be beneficial to just play the Luffy blocker, right? Establish a big body and then swing for 7 and 9 at his leader, get some more cards out of hand or some blockers. So we're taking a bit of a think here, seeing what the best option is. There is potential to kill him here if he takes one of these life, but I think the better option is just to play out this Luffy here, and that is what we're going to do. So we're going to go 9 because it's a 10 cost card that costs 1 less because we're at 1 or less cards in our life. So we are going to trash the Sanji 1k from our hand to buff our leader to 7. And now we have that Luffy as a blocker, which is just insanely strong against this Brook because they usually trash their events and let them rest characters. Now we're going to go for 7 at lead with our leader, right? Freshly buffed off the Luffy. He is going to take that going to 0. And now I'm just going to pass turn. And the reason why I pass turn here instead of swinging the Zoro is because if he has another Luna or a I know you're going to be strong, he could freeze our 2 Zoros and our Sanji down. So I decided to leave the Zoro up. That way, if he wants to freeze it, he has to rest it first. as well as our Luffy, just trying to ensure that we have lethal. And again, we have at least one of the unblockable Sanji 2Ks in our hand, so we know that it doesn't matter if he has a blocker or two to hide behind. We can just stack everything on our Luffy and swing, as our opponent is down to like 5 cards in hand maximum right now because we've been pressuring him the whole game. So our opponent's really having to think hard about this turn. We put him in a rough spot, being a 9k leader with 1 life still. I think 7 cards in hand and a blocker, just disgusting. Hey. As I mentioned in one of my posts, guys, we just recently adopted I recently adopted a kitten, and my mom did as well, so we have 2 kittens. And so our other 2 cats are very much trying to figure out what's going on with that, and they have been very talkative lately, and not in a nice way. Katniss is in here chilling with me right now. All right, so we got a Nami coming in here for 9. You can't eat my sandwich. Nami coming in here for 9 at my leader, just trying to pressure cards out of my hand. And I think this is a good spot to use the counter event from my hand to just make one of the Luffy smaller. But first, we are going to use the baby 5 to bait him into swinging a little bit more. But here he's going to go for 4, using the Nami to rest down the what did he rest? Oh, it was nothing because we had everything active, but he's gonna rest, or no, he rested the Zoro, and then he is going to get a Luna in right to freeze that Zoro. But here we were able to get the Nami out of his hand at least and play out a card so that he wasn't able to keep pressuring our life. And now our entire board is stunned except for the Luffy and our leader. Luckily for us though, and unfortunately for him, we do have a 2-cost card in our hand that says unblockable, and even with 5 Dawn, he only has 4 cards in hand. I don't know many decks that can counter out of a 20k unblockable swing, and I know that Brook, with only 4 cards in hand and not being able to keep a whole lot of events in hand, certainly is not going to be one of them. So we're going to start with a raw 7 here first, potentially. It's either a 7 or a 5, but I think we're just going to go with a base 5 here because 20 is just going to be insane. But nope, we're going to go for 7 here, trying to get an event out of his hand or a blocker. He's going to use an event, which is awesome. That's going to be a 4k event. We're going to play the Sanji, and then we're going to put 6 more Dawn on our Luffy, swing for 18k unblockable, and now he's going to do a 4k event, getting to 9, 10, 11, and he just does not have enough counter for that. So that is going to be the game against Brook. Once again, just being a 9k leader is enough to stave off a lot of different decks and strategies, right? Because they just can't effectively pressure you. So great game to my opponent here, playing a deck that is honestly super sick and complicated. Super unfortunate as well that he was not able to play out that Nightmare Luffy when he wanted to. Definitely would have been a lot different of a game if he had got that. But anyways, that's going to be our game to you guys. Now I will see you in the pack opening portion of today's video. All right, guys. And now that we're done with those games, I'm going to be opening the packs that I've been winning with this deck. For this, I was able to receive 2 winner packs for the Pirate Party that I won. I have 4 packs here of OP15, and last but not least, 1 EB03 booster pack. I'm going to go ahead and get into these. We're going to start with the winners packs, go into OP15, and then round out with EB04. Actually, nah, we'll do EB04 before the OP15. So we're going to start out here with the 2025 Volume 4 winners pack. I'm hoping for the winners Baby 5, I believe you can get out of this. All right, and 3, 2, 1. All right. Not exactly what I wanted to see, but Shachi and Penguin, there we go. Still, I really liked this style of winner card, like the silhouette in the background, almost like a fighting game. All right, and now let's do the 2026. I'm not sure exactly what all cards were in the 2026 one. I know that I think Yellow Zoro was in there, considered to be used in Kid, but ended up not getting used. All right, in 3, 2, 1. Nice, let's go. We got the mixed Sabo. I'm actually super happy about this one for my Sabo deck because I can't really afford the $100 SP ones right now. 4 cost 6k blocker that has +4 cost if your leader is Revolutionary Army. On play, you can add the top or bottom life to your hand, give a rested Dawn to your leader or one of your characters. Again, just love that like silhouette look of the cards there. Absolutely sick. Really happy about that one. All right, now let's do our EB03 booster. See if we can pull anything crazy out of these packs. Okay, here we go. Kami, Viola, Miss Valentine. Isn't this one bad? Yeah. Then we got Baccarat, Bello Betty, Nico Robin. There you are, sore loser. Miss Doublefinger. I knew you people were behind this. Charlotte Smoothie. And now we have our rare cards here in the back. So we have Charlotte Pudding. This one's a 4 cost 4k blocker. It's also 2k counter, and then on play, if the number of Dawn on your field is less or equal to your opponent's, add a Dawn and rest it. And nice, we got the SR Nefeltari VV blocker. Very strong card here. A lot of people at my locals are actually talking about using this in their blue-yellow Nami to make a more aggressive version, so super happy to see that. Now let's do some OP15 Kraken. All right, we got a leader pack here. Okay, Charlotte Lola, Pincers, Fuza, Sentamaru. Would you let me eat the fruit? Zeph and Yorkie. All right, now we got our uncommons here. Kobe. Bonney. My goat. All right. Hesso. People using this in yellow Enel a lot. And then we have Black Rope, Dragon, Twister, and Alvida for our rares. So once again, my specialty dud pack makes an appearance. All right, next pack, here we go. Okay. Robin. Is it Guinea or Ginny? I don't know. Koala. Nezumi. My Students Farewell. Ryuma. And Pacifista. Alright, now we have Cavendish. Monkey D. Luffy. And Meow Band Brothers. Alright, now we have the Helmeppo. I think this was for Kobe, but Kobe doesn't even play it. Yeah. And Nami, so another dud pack. Still not awful. The Nami's pretty good as a searcher for the yellow Luffy deck. I will not be building that Sky Island Luffy, but I might revisit the Egghead Luffy. Who knows? Looks like another leader pack here. Yep. Cool. All right. Let's get into it. Chopper. The goat. Brook. Interesting. And Laboon. Really good card here. Alright, we got Distorted Future and Gadatsu, so yet another whiff pack. Distorted Future's another card, guys, that I was running for a little bit, because you can run Distorted Futures and Ben Beckman's in the Bonney deck and get a little bit of a removal package going, but I ended up cutting it just for a little bit more consistency. But it is a very viable option in my opinion. Alright, we got Rororora Zoro, Yozo, and Leo. And here we go. We got another Sanji. Let's go. And nice. We did manage to pull an SR. We got ourselves the Thriller Bark Nami. It's not actually a Thriller Bark type, but it is the Wedding Nami from Thriller Bark. So that is going to do it for our pack opening portion of the video, guys. Pretty cool pulls. Very excited about the Sabo, as well as our other pulls here. Alright guys, and that is going to do it for today's video. Once again, thank you so much for watching. If you liked today's video, feel free to drop a like down below and let me know. Hit the subscribe button because it's 100% free, and once again, it will help me and the channel out a ton. Hit the notification bell right next to it so that you never missed when I put another post, video, or stream up. Hit the curvy arrow button so that you can share this video with your friends. And leave a comment in the comment section down below letting me know what you thought or anything you'd like to see me do or say in the future. With that being said, that's all I got for you. Have a great rest of your day.